Welcome back to the Readathon.
Another Readathon. Could things continue to develop in the Karen Read trial?
I know. People have been pissed that we haven't been doing this, Kevin. But I was away.
But there was really, I don't want to say there was nothing going on.
There was a little something.
We can bring it together.
Yeah, well, we did find out a couple of days ago that there has been an internal affairs investigation into 3 cops connected with the Karen Read case.
And these are troopers, Massachusetts State Troopers.
Massachusetts State Troopers. Lieutenant Tully, Sergeant Buchanan, and a trooper named Fanning. Now, a trooper named Fanning has been sort of let go. The Massachusetts State Police a couple of days ago released a corrected statement to the media saying Fanning was, quote, notified that his investigation determined insufficient evidence to prove or disprove the allegation that he violated rules and regulations classified as not sustained.
When you say he was let go, it doesn't mean that he was fired. You mean that he was...
Let go of the investigation.
Let go, he was... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he's no longer under investigation.
I believe he's a supervisor.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and so
he oversees these dudes. But Buchanan oversees Proctor.
Right.
And I believe Tully is Proctor's partner. I could have that wrong, but I believe that that's the case. So, and I know Tully has been going with Buchanan to people's houses to talk to them about stuff happening at their houses.
I think we talked about that, right?
The last Readathon, yeah. Right. It was Tully and Buchanan showing up at ladies' houses saying like, I do things by the book. Where'd you hear that? Did you hear it on the internet?
These are people that were leaving messages for Proctor's wife, and Proctor's wife had been...
Or a long time ago sending Facebook notes to Jen McCabe saying, I can't believe you're involved in this.
What is happening outside of the people involved directly in this case is getting kind of crazy. Just before we move off of the internal affairs investigation, did they specify what was being looked at?
Nope.
They didn't. Nope. So we don't know whether or not this is completely unrelated to this,
it's related.
Or it could be, based on something again that came up at trial, or this could be based on, again, it could be this whole thing that came out about them going to people's houses. Now we know it was Buchanan.
Yuri Buchanan.
And who was the other trooper was with them?
Tully.
Was it Tully? Okay, so they could be saying that, like we said last time, this might be an off-the-books job where they're just trying to, intimidate people. That might be what this is. Or this could be something completely different.
Right. So the troopers remain...
A different aspect of the case. Yeah, that we don't know about.
So they remain on full duty, and the third trooper's investigation has concluded. The department's internal affairs investigation says basically... Let's see. I mean, it really doesn't say anything. It's just like about professional conduct of some kind. So Buchanan,
which is typical for a personnel issue for public employees. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tully, by the way, also did testify at the Karen Read trial. He was also a witness in the case. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
One is that I have been showing you, since you did not watch the trial as I did, and I have been revisiting moments from the trial.
Yeah.
I've been showing you some highlights, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And, it's very easy, I think, in retrospect to say, like, so-and-so is a liar, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that. But I've been able to, like, show you some things that, like, are really fucking absurd from the trial. Things that sort of just, like, keep coming up in my head that, like, make you understand why this case really sticks in people's craw.
Right, because people will know we didn't cover all 30 days of the Read trial. We kind of came into it late while it was like really blowing up. Yeah.
Right. One little thing that came up that I tweeted about yesterday that I showed you was that Allie McCabe, who's Jen McCabe's daughter, all right, she is Colin Albert's alleged ride from 34 Fairview the night of the incident.
Right, and important to note is that what the McAlberts collectively have stated is that Colin was at that party, but he left before Karen and John arrived.
Correct.
And the defense is saying, no, Colin was there, and they are implying this, that he was responsible for an assault, which is why his knuckles are bruised on one hand, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, no, Kevin. Those knuckles are from when he slipped on a slippery driveway and tried to catch himself because he had something in his other hand.
So I tried to brace myself with my right hand, and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
You injured your right fist, just the top of the knuckles on your right fist when you fell down.
Correct.
Seriously?
What do you have in the other hand, Kevin?
It could have been phone or a beverage.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't recall what I saved.
Yeah.
And then I landed not with the palm down to catch like we have been doing since we fell out of coconut trees. But no, he clenched his fist, which I guess he uses for boxing, right? It's like if you're a violinist, like, yeah, let's do something really crazy to injure your hand, and then landed Iron Man style, broke his fall.
Yeah.
I didn't break his elbow, but all right, whatever.
Break his wrist.
His wrist, his shoulder, anything, I guess.
Yeah.
But he saved that beverage.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why. So what this means is that they are saying that Colin left the party, was never at the party, was never in the house. He was at the party, but he was never in the house.
Correct.
And to prove that or to disprove that, he's saying, this is my ride home.
Right.
Okay.
Many people believe, and you heard Aidan Carney say this on the Readathon, that a
Turtle Boy. Yep.
big part of this entire cover-up by the McAlberts, I'm just going to fucking call them that from now on, it's just easier, is about protecting Colin Albert. That he did something quote unquote stupid. They don't want to ruin his life. So they have really since the beginning bent over backwards to prove that he was not in the house, right? To an extent that is absurd, because remember, everyone is asserting that John O'Keefe died outside the house.
Yeah.
So why the fuck would it even matter if Colin was inside the house when John was there? It wouldn't matter.
Right. Other than the fact that you're saying that John was there, but that's a whole other. That's a whole other slip of the tongue. But okay,
Allie did, but you know what? That could be interpreted in many ways. On the stand, she said something like, Colin left before John was at the house. People took that to imply that he actually came into the house. Anyway, so there's just been this absurd amount of.
This is about establishing Colin's alibi.
Correct.
Okay.
So there are a couple of things about Colin's alibi that make. That were entered into evidence that are wild. One of them is this text thread between he and Allie McCabe on the night of the incident.
Okay.
Now, it's actually technically an early morning, but I'm calling it the night of. It's easier.
Yeah.
Their phones were not taken that night, and they were just allowed to share screenshots with the police that ostensibly prove that she picked him up a few minutes after midnight.
First part of that sounds reasonable. Second part of that sounds fucking crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I showed you the text messages.
You mean you showed me the screen grabs?
The screen grabs of the text messages.
Not anything reconstructed from actual code or data.
No.
Okay.
The screen grabs as they were submitted
deleted
in
these.
court. Well,
right?
Later the entire thread was deleted. So there's no way to go back and see. And of course, those phones, no longer have these phones.
No, they're encrypted on both ends,
No, they no longer have these phones. Everyone's got rid of their phones.
but I'm saying, Verizon can't go in and pull them up because, anyway.
Right. So when I showed you these screen grabs, what did you notice about the screen grabs?
Okay, well, to set the scene, it looks very much like your iPhone Messenger app, where on the right, you have the blue speech bubbles, right? And if you were to, as you know, you sort of drag it to the left, you can you pull out the times each thing was sent, right?
Right.
So you pull that out, and the first message is word.
Well,
I'm serious. You can come get me now, and it's timestamped 11:54 p.m.
Right, and that's ostensibly from Colin. This is his phone, and it says Allie on the top.
Allie on the top, right? And then, by the way, you notice at the very top, the very top in the middle, there's a date. So it says January 28th, 2022. 11:45. That's sort of centered.
11:54 p.m.
So everything below that belongs to that date. So we've got the first message, 11:45. Second message, he says, if easier, 11:45. There is a response. 54, excuse me.
This is important.
Okay. Nearly midnight. She responds, okay, I'm driving, please.
I'm driving people
home now. That time is 11:55 p.m. He says word and says, get me after. And then she responds, KK? 11:56, I think. It's blurry. Get your finger out. Oh, okay. Here. It's here, as in I'm here to pick you up.
At what time?
12:10 a.m. And he responds, okay, 12:10 a.m. But you know what is missing?
Yes.
What is missing? You pointed this out. Between 11:55, that message, and the 12:10 message a.m., the date does not reappear.
The date does not roll over.
Does not roll over. So as we saw at the top, what should be there, centered between those two things, should say January 29th, 2022, and usually the timestamp from the first message.
Correct.
So it rolls over, so it's not there.
Those were edited pieces of material.
Yeah.
They were 100, and this is not a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your own iPhone, listener, at any long text thread you have with anyone, and look at what happens when you text somebody and the day changes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you text someone at 11:59 at night and then at 12:01 in the morning, there's a date rollover. If you text someone at 6 o'clock one day and then at 10 o'clock in the morning 4 days later, there's a date rollover. There is always a date stamp before any text message if it's a new date, and it does not exist here.
So if I have somewhere in my iPhone, or an iPhone that I have access to, like a buddy's, and I see, a text was sent on January 28th, somewhere in that thread, that timestamp with the date centered is going to be there. So on any evening in the past 2.5 years, I could send you, wink, wink, a text message at 11:55 p.m. You can respond after midnight, and we could play it out so the time codes match up. But we've inserted that, try to falsify the date.
Right. Or
by stitching and pasting.
You could also just cut and paste the date on the top and then put anything the fuck you want
Isn't
underneath.
that what I just said?
I know.
I just said how you could do that.
100%,
okay.
yes. But it's like the whole thing is just fake. It's fake, it's fake, it's fake. And the thing that's amazing is, there's this whole conversation afterwards about her Life 360 data, putting her driving around at 1:30 in the morning when she claims she was home, whatever. That's whatever it is. This one
No, don't skip her to say that in one paragraph. What is that data? And why is that?
The data is, she says that she went home after all this. But there's Life 360 data on her phone that shows her driving around at like 1:30 in the morning. And she's just like, I don't remember that. I thought I was home. So, there's this whole dispute over whether or not Life 360 is accurate. And I just don't want to fucking get into it because you can argue about that. What you can't argue about is that these text messages are fake. You can't argue about that.
Well, you don't know they're fake, but they are suspicious as hell because they do not look like
they have been edited. I'm sorry. They have iPhones.
Okay.
These text messages have been edited. Kevin, you cannot look at this and tell me they've not been edited.
I believe they are.
All right.
Can I prove it? In a court, I cannot prove that in a court. Neither can you. I'm saying that.
Person could.
No. Come on now. You know the difference, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But Kevin, if they were to have an iPhone UX person come up on the stand, that person could say that is impossible.
Sure. Did they do that? Did that occur?
They did not do that.
That did not occur.
But they should. Okay. So there's that. The other thing that is...
I agree with you. I have a very hard time believing that is accurate, untampered with.
Oh, yeah. So that's a lie. The other lie that I showed you last night that Colin Albert told on the stand to Alan Jackson.
Besides the fist.
Oh, my God. He was asked, do you remember the last time you spoke to Allie McCabe before I'm speaking to you right now?
Okay. Allie McCabe, his ride. Okay.
His best friend.
Right. And by the way, what are the relations here? McCabe is?
Jen McCabe's daughter.
Jen McCabe's daughter.
Correct.
Jen McCabe's daughter.
Good for you.
All right.
And
it's just important to keep orienting people. The McAlberts and the Alberts and the McCabes.
And Colin is whose child?
Colin is Chris Albert's child, the selectman, and the nephew of Bob Albert.
Brian.
Sorry, why do you think Bob? Brian Albert, the homeowner, and Boston police officer.
So are Colin and Allie related?
They are not related by blood.
They're sort of related.
Well, let me think. How are the...
Jen McCabe is Brian Albert's sister-in-law. Her sister is married to... So they're not related by blood.
But you could say they're family.
Yeah, they're sort of cousins-ish.
Yeah.
They're like cousins like you are with your cousins. And they're, quote, best friends.
Yeah. When somebody had their first communion, they all got invited to the same
They go to
bar.
each other's fucking barbecues.
Yeah, sure.
But if they were to make out, it wouldn't be a big deal. All right, so...
Fucking hell.
I'm not saying they did. I'm saying that if they did, their kids wouldn't end up being, four-headed or whatever. All right, so Alan Jackson asked him...
It's the quality content you've been paying for.
Asked him when the last time was that he remembers speaking to Allie McCabe. I don't remember, he says.
Okay.
like, was it a month ago? Was it 3 months ago? I don't remember. Was it weeks ago? Was it days ago? I don't remember.
Did you talk to Allie before her testimony?
No.
When was the last time you did talk to Allie before she testified yesterday?
I don't remember.
Give me an idea. She's one of your best friends. A week ago, a day ago, a month ago.
I do not remember.
Could it have been a year ago?
I do not remember.
Okay. Could have been 5 years ago.
No.
Okay. So it was more recently than 5 years ago that you spoke with Allie.
I don't remember.
Okay. So you have no independent recollection as you sit here. The last time you talked to one of your best friends and your cousin about any subject.
No, I don't remember.
Was it 5 years ago? I don't remember.
Obviously not. The farthest it could have been is 2.5 years.
The farthest it could have been was January 29th, 2022. And this conversation is happening in like April or May of 2024. So the longest it could have been is 2 years and 2 or 3 months, right?
Did he talk to his best friend?
He literally says, I don't remember. He goes, you don't remember whether or not you talked to her in the last 5 years? No, I don't recall, says Colin on the stand. I don't recall. I'm sorry. The fact that's a lie. Saying you don't remember something is sometimes a lie, and that is a very good example of it being a lie.
Sure.
That's a fucking lie.
Yeah. There's yes, no, and I don't recall. And I don't recall is I'm not going to incriminate myself.
That's a fucking lie.
Yep.
Yep. So I've been showing you these nuggets, and what are like looking. So it's one thing to hear like Turtle Boy call people a liar. It's one thing to hear me sort of say in retrospect, I know that this person wasn't. But when you see it, and I've been showing you these nuggets. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't find them credible. Like I'm the kind of person I'm not willing to say that's a lie, but I am willing to say I do not believe that.
You don't think he's lying when he says he doesn't remember if he spoke to Allie McCabe in the last 5 years?
I do not believe that.
He's fucking lying.
I do not believe that's accurate.
All right. The other thing that I showed you was a small thing.
Yeah.
Jen McCabe being asked about deleting calls and texts from her phone.
Right.
And
on the stand.
On the stand.
Okay.
And she says that the only things she deleted from her phone before handing it over, she asked the police officer, may I delete texts between me and my daughters before I hand you the phone? And they said, sure you can. And so she did that and handed over her phone. Why would she have to delete text messages between her and her daughter before handing the phone? Would you? What could possibly be incriminate? Like, what could have been so private or so whatever? Like, what? Okay, what wouldn't you want the police to see?
Mm-hmm.
The police.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, who are her daughters?
One of them's Allie McCabe.
Allie McCabe.
One of them is a witness in the case.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that the police said yes to that, if they did, is fucking absurd.
Yeah.
Because one of them is a witness in the case.
I doubt that there was probably a text that said, Mom, I did this, but I'm sure there are texts that
line up with that night,
or at the very least make reference to something, right? You know, in kind of a code or a way when you're looking at.
Or that talk about Karen or some bullshit. Yeah. So anyway,
probably something that doesn't look good,
right?
Or she assumes, without having gone through all of it, trying to think back to the last 6 months, 2 years, however long it's been,
right?
There's probably something in there, or there might be something in there.
What did you think about the exchange afterwards about whether or not she recalled deleting anything else from her phone, any other calls or text threads?
It did not inspire a lot of confidence in me that she was being completely forthcoming.
Yeah, this is the thing. And I know it's really hard for people who are sort of coming into this sideways to understand, like, because, you know, like you're calling somebody, you're just saying that they're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
It is my opinion that Jen McCabe is a lying liar who lies.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. McCabe, according to the extraction reports that you've seen this morning, comparing yours to his, every single one of those calls was deleted off your phone. Correct? According to the reports.
According to that report, yes.
Allie McCabe lied, and Colin lied a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. One final thing I want to talk about.
Yes.
I'm not going to get too much into it because it's so bananas and I can't untangle it all. And I actually texted Aiden Carney to ask him, like, can you just untangle some of this for me? Because I don't understand who any of these fucking people are. The online, Twitter, social media world around people, like, who aren't even connected to the case, but who are, like, advocates for both sides is going in, like, it's completely going off the rails. People are taking each other to court.
Yeah.
People are filing restraining orders against another. There's this woman named Kim who's like an anti-Karen Reed person who has several Twitter handles who's like doxing people, threatening people, harassing people.
Basically a Twitter handle, a Twitter account that was created in May.
Yes.
Is probably not a real person.
Well, it's this woman Kim. She doesn't deny it. And also
deny it.
And Paul O'Keefe, John O'Keefe's brother, has now threatened Aiden Carney through Facebook Messenger. I think it's Facebook Messenger, and it's basically like, you're going down, you're going to prison, you're going, and it's just getting fucking insane. What is happening is now, like, people are like, you know, people are now like basically
they've gone beyond sending fake cease and desist letters.
They've gone beyond sending fake. It's getting really, really insane.
It should be noted that sort of, you know, in the social media ecosphere, there are large groups of supporters on either side, but there are individual camps of people that are like the family members. They're not people like you and I watching from afar who have hot takes, right? There are people who are directly connected to the people involved, or are the people involved who get on social media to try to spin or try to refute or try to obfuscate, and they are trying to create larger numbers by coming up with a lot of sock puppet accounts and faking.
Yeah. And these are people who like courthouse steps type people. Right?
Okay.
That's who that's who I'm talking about. There are people, by the way, I believe there are people directly involved in the case who are some of these sock puppets. I know I've interacted with some of them. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like
but not the pro-Karen Reed people. They're just there, right?
there.
They don't feel a need to come up with a whole sock puppet army.
Some of them do have like fake like accounts, but they're not sock puppets and they don't pretend to be. But some of them are like. But yeah, but the anti-Karen Reed people have become particularly insane lately, and I just wanted to say it. But the other thing that happened, remember Jill Daniels?
No. Jill Daniels? Refresh my memory.
Jill Daniels was outside of C.F. McCarthy's when Turtle Boy, a.k.a. Aiden Carney, was making his video.
She's the one that accosted him. She pulled up.
She is Chris Albert's sister-in-law.
That is Chris Albert's sister-in-law.
Right.
Okay.
She pulled up, flew out of her car, smacked the phone out of his hand and like a banshee and started screaming at him on the street. And they got into that little altercation, right? Famously.
Oh, boy.
Oh, look who it is. Look who's here. Here she is.
You know what? I'm so sick of your shit.
Oh, she stole
I'm sick of your shit. Okay? Enough is enough. You're a prick.
Can I have my phone?
How's the kids? How's the kids? They must be so proud of their dad.
She and her boyfriend, or as Howie Carr and Turtle Boy calls her, quote, elderly boyfriend, which is just, that is unnecessary, doing that kind of stuff. Calling people fat, calling people old is unnecessary. But that's, if you see that referred to, it's just because he appears to be older than she is. They apparently were at a bar and restaurant in Falmouth, Massachusetts, which is where, Kevin?
Falmouth is not on the Cape. Is on the Cape. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah.
And there was a person,
which is a long way from Canton.
It's a long way from Canton.
It's far enough away.
And there was a patron there wearing a free Karen Reed shirt.
Falmouth.
And they got into a fight.
You mean a verbal argument?
A verbal argument and a physical fight.
Oh, no.
Where he allegedly assaulted one of the people and then someone on the wait staff. And he had to be...
The elderly boyfriend? Or
the elderly boyfriend.
Okay.
We're only saying that because that's what they're calling it. That's that's the character name. Okay,
the character name.
They both like assaulted people, and he apparently physically assaulted somebody.
Okay.
And by the way, the police report has not been released yet because the Falmouth police say the report is, quote, not finished.
They're still investigating.
Howie Carr has submitted a FOIA. By the way, for people who don't know, Howie Carr is a very conservative, very unlikable, in my opinion, media personality.
He's a columnist for the Boston Herald who's very big and brash.
Yes.
And sort of in the lines.
He's like a mini Rush Limbaugh type.
Yeah, but there are other, he
has a radio show, very popular radio show. But he's like a mini Rush Limbaugh type. But he's also like very high. He's like very popular. A lot of people read his column. He wrote a scathing column about Michael Proctor this week.
Written to Michael Proctor.
In which he basically tells Michael Proctor to turn it to flip and talk to the feds.
Yeah, he goes over, over, I don't know how many column inches, but the whole,
whole page.
It's a whole page. Oh, it's a whole page. Okay, it's right. The whole page with a photograph. Basically, with this retort, it says, "You're Michael Proctor. And
you're out of work.
You're out of work." And then he's like, "You're Michael Proctor, but your buddy here is still getting paid."
Yeah.
And he just keeps going on pointing out to Michael Proctor how everybody else that he's connected with in law enforcement and in the prosecution, they're getting dinged, but they're still getting paid. They're going to be okay.
Elderly boyfriend.
He even mentioned the elderly boyfriend, right? All this other stuff. Took a couple of pot shots. Howie Carr did not need to refer to Michael Proctor's wife as lumpy.
Yeah,
that's not cool. But basically, he's making an argument saying you're getting fucked. You're getting fucked by this guy. You're getting screwed because of this.
And your wife probably hates you right now.
Your wife probably hates you. When you say you get cold shoulder and cold meals or something.
It's not. His wife has actually been very standing up for him kind of situation.
Yeah.
But,
basically laying it on, showing Michael Proctor that he is in a bad way. And the last paragraph or last sentence or two says, if I were Michael Proctor, I would be thinking, who do I have to give up to the feds?
That's right.
Or what do I have for the feds that they want?
That's right.
So basically trying to make out the point, like, let's go up the ladder.
That's right. So Howie Carr is very interested.
Although I don't feel sympathy for Proctor as like being a low lieutenant, figuratively being hung out to dry.
No, and he's making like $170,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah, he's made his bed.
But anyway, so Howie Carr is very interested in this Falmouth incident as well. Mm-hmm. It's not just Turtle Boy, and he's also submitted a FOIA request for this police report. So the police initially told Turtle Boy, like, we can't give it to you yet. You have to ask us again in the future. And he's like, why do I have to ask you again? Here's how he is.
Yeah.
Howie Carr, who's like famous, submits the FOIA request and they're like, it's not finished. Mm-hmm. This is like a fucking week later. It's not a police report? Police report about a fight in a bar? Come on.
Yeah, so this kind of thing like gets forwarded to
the newspaper.
A district attorney, right? It gets forwarded to the court. So that ought to be filed.
You know that a crime report in a small town, it gets filed, the police report gets written, it gets filed, it gets written up in the little crime report in the online newspaper or put on the fucking Facebook page. Those take like a day to turn around.
They do. Let me just point out that if the investigation is ongoing, they're not complete with it, then they do not need to release that report, and it's probably not a good idea. However, if they are using that as a pretext to not release it, that's not cool.
Yeah, and they probably just don't want the publicity, right? It's probably for no other reason.
This is the Falmouth Police Department.
Yeah.
They probably don't give two shits.
All right, well, anyway.
They don't really have a horse in this fight.
There's been stuff going on. The people, and as I was telling you this story about Jill and like her boyfriend.
They don't have a horse in this fight, is what I said?
Yeah.
They don't have a dog in this race? No, okay, whatever.
They don't have Chloe in this fight.
Okay.
So as I was telling you this story about like these people going into this restaurant, seeing this person in this t-shirt, not being able to like basically control themselves. I mean, there were apparently a lot of people who were there who, they tweeted about it. They said what happened. So this is all alleged, obviously. So assuming this is true or something like it happened, why can't these people fucking control themselves? Like, why can't they just, if they see someone wearing a Free Karen Reed t-shirt, why can't they just like sit in their booth, seethe silently, eat their dinner, laugh it off, and fucking have a good time on their vacation on the Cape and just like why do they have to attack people? Like, why? What is the matter with these people? Why do they have to behave like animals?
Okay.
What is the matter with them?
Can I offer two things?
Yes.
Two ideas here. One is if you are not a person from the party and you do not honestly know what happened, but you believe the people you love that nothing happened, and you see all this pressure coming down on them, it certainly causes stress, and certainly she has demonstrated herself to be someone who is willing to step up, perhaps in an inappropriate way. So I think that that's probably a reaction to the stress and frustration, and it is not appropriate. And the second thing has to be, and this is a recurring theme to all of these incidents.
Yeah.
Alcohol is involved. And perhaps the overuse of alcohol by the people involved.
You think?
Karen and John and the people in the house, and then all and then Proctor and
Kevin.
I mean, just the abuse of alcohol seems to be a factor in each of the individual incidents that are of importance.
Also, some ingrained anger.
Yeah, because
I'm just sorry.
There was an incident at what is a soccer field or a cross field?
Lacrosse field.
You know,
the minute Turtle Boy approaches, it
was hot, but but were punches thrown? Because
shoving happened.
But as far as
but here's the thing.
But it didn't happen in a bar. A lot of these things happen in restaurants and bars and parties.
But here's the thing: the minute Matt McCabe saw Turtle Boy, Jen actually was pretty cool initially. She sort of smiled, brushed him off. She was willing to not engage or just say something and move on.
Yeah.
I will give her credit for that.
Yeah.
Matt McCabe's immediate instinct was to call him a pedophile, make fun of his tiny hands, and shove him.
Well, I thought they shook hands first.
Sort of, and then he made fun of his made fun of his tiny hands. Said, "Oh, this is the guy who's here looking at all the kids," and he had this. They're just so mean. Mm-hmm. These people are mean. I'm sorry, they are. They're mean.
They're mean. Yes.
All right.
And
anyway.
Turtle Boy probably didn't need to do that, but we've already established that Turtle Boy likes being a dick to dicks.
He likes being a dick to dicks, but he also knew where they'd be, and he wanted to ask them
I
questions.
wanted to ask some questions.
Curious questions.
Was Colin in the house?
Oh, Colin was in the house.
Colin was in the house.
Now you understand why that meme comes from, right?
Oh, yeah.
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 You were wondering about the ducks. You were wondering about everything. Colin was in the house.
That's important. Colin has an alibi for not being in the house, and it's Allie. And their text messages
are lies.
Appear to be
lies.
Are not created from actual code. There are screenshots that appear to be missing. Appear to be lies, and other data
so
puts
cute.
Jen around in the car at a time where it would be inexpedient for Colin if he were in the car at that moment.
All right, let's leave it there.
Yeah.
And also, he may not have been in the car. She may not have picked him up at all that night. Remember?
There's
no, she may not have picked him up at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It's not an Uber.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it there for now. Those are some thoughts. We will obviously be back the minute. Listen, I'm just watching social media. I'll just gossip with you, Kevin. That's
okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'll tell you what's happening on social media tomorrow if you want. If anything happens at all. All right. Let's leave it there. If anybody has some insight into me on who Nurse Kim is in Massachusetts, I find her fascinating as well. Apparently, she's a figure, a real person in Massachusetts who's been tweeting some interesting stuff. Somebody said she's a real person. And I'm very excited to hear that I accidentally called her anonymous on our Facebook page. All right. Let's wrap it up for the Readathon, and we'll talk to you soon.
I heard Colin likes to fuck a couch.
Leave that there.
Partners in Crime Media.